Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video we are going to talk about and I am going to give you a full description of everything that happened during my journey towards the level 2 CFA exam. So after I set for level 1, things have moved on. In August 2019, I remember that I moved from the place I was living in with my girlfriend to my father's house because, of course, I did not want to live alone. And then it was around that time, I think it was on August 8th, I believe, that I received. It was it was in the first few days of August that we received the exam result, and so I learned that I had passed the exam, and I because I passed with such a high score, I felt all right. My study preparation, my study method was very time consuming, but it was very effective, and I felt if I use this template for future exams, level 2 and level 3, there is no way I'm ever going to fail the exam. And so I'm going to be so well prepared that no matter what the exam throws at me, I will be prepared and I will ace the exam. And so I felt that, all right, as soon as the registration period, the early registration period begins, I'm going to register, and then I'm going to be laser focused on the study preparation. And so I did just that. I think a few days later, August 10, August 11, I'm not sure, the exam window opened, and so I registered on the first day, and then I hit the books and start reviewing the entire curriculum. And so basically, since that point in time and over the next few months, I remember that my routine was as monotonous as it could be. Basically, I because I was working, of course, at the time. I had a full-time job, basically a 9 to 5 job. I remember that I got up around 6 a.m. Uh, I went to work because I was able to go to work early and go to the office before everyone arrives. And so I went to the office. I studied up until around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I would do my usual work routine. If I had a little bit of time to study during lunchtime, I would. If not, and regardless, after work at around 5:30, 6 o'clock, I would hit the books some more, and I would stay in the office until around 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, 8 p.m. And then I would go home, grab something to dinner, and then I would study up until 9:30, 10 p.m. Just a little bit more study time, and then I would go to bed, basically. And so every weekday, for most days, were like that. And then on the weekends, I would study pretty much all weekend with a few breaks in between, of course, but I would stay at home and do this every single day. And I remember that this routine went on for the following months from August 2019 onwards, up until March 2020. By that time, the pandemic had hit. In Portugal, we were forced to be confined at home. I was working from home at the time, and so every single opportunity I had to study, I did. But I recall that either in late March or early April 2020, we got the news from the CFA Institute that the exam would be postponed to December. Please keep in mind that for the folks which are newer to the program, that at the time the exam was paper based. You had to go to a particular location, such as a hotel conference room, and all the exams were administrations took place in June 2020 for in June of each year for all three exams, and then you had an exam window in December just for level one. And so what the CFA Institute decided to do at the time was to postpone the exam to December, and then that exam window would be extended to all levels. And so as a CFA level 2 candidate, I would be slated to write to sit for the exam in December. I can't recall at the time if the December 2020 would be already computer based, but I think so. I think they made a transition at that time, and so it would be computer based. Well, it was a bummer because I had studied for quite a long time up until that point, but at that point I decided, I had the decision, either I should, I don't know, stop for a few weeks or a month or two, or continue to work as hard or as diligently as I did up until that time. And I felt that if I stopped, everything I did up to that point, all the preparation would be wasted, because in a month or two, I would, for the most part, forget everything, or things would not come up as easily as they were coming up at the time in my mind. So I felt that, all right, I'm going to continue to study. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue. But of course, because we were in April, we still had around 8 months left until the exam. So I'm going to continue study every day, but at a more leisure pace. So that's what I decided to do, so that I would not lose anything that I already did since August. And so basically that's what I did. So I recall that in early May, while in still a pandemic, due to unforeseen circumstances, myself and my father, we had to leave the house we were living in. And so, because we were still in the midst of the pandemic, we decided, all right, it's best for us to split, because other relatives can take us in. But if we are too much people inside a single house, a single apartment, it would be more dangerous for everyone. And so we decided to split. I went back to live with my mother, who was living on her own. I have to say that my relationship with my mother is a very tough one. We have very different and conflicting personalities. But I decided, all right, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a temporary situation, because I'm still adamant that at some point I will have the opportunity to move abroad and leave Portugal for good. I had nothing that would keep me in Portugal. So family or friends or commitments, I don't have anything. So as soon as I find a job abroad, I would be able to go. And that's what I did. So I decided to moved in my mother's house. I stayed there. I diligently studied every single day, while continuing to work remotely. And so I remember that months went in. Summer, yeah, even through the summer, I continued to study. But I was already pretty much prepared by November, I believe, October, November. And then I recall that I think the exam was somewhat scheduled for either the first or the second week of December. and I think it was in mid-November that we got the announcement that the exam is going to be postponed again because of the second wave or the third wave, whatever, that was going on in Portugal. And so the test center that was designated for candidates in Lisbon, which of course where I was living in, and basically is the only where was the only test center in Portugal at the time, I think, was going to be shut down and not going to open because of the second wave of the pandemic. That hit really hard because you can imagine you were already prepared for the exam. You were fully prepared. You already have took more than 1 year of your life to study for the exam, and now it would be postponed again. Yeah, that was really really bad. I remember that the next window would be in May 2021, and so yeah, basically that was the window I was shooting for. Once again, I decided, all right, I'm going to take this slow, but I'm not going to stop. Still, I'm going to study as diligently as I did. By that time, I was basically just doing the practice questions in the CFA Institute, the learning ecosystem. Uh, as I told you before, I never used resources from prep providers, and so basically I was just already doing those by heart. But I felt I'm not gonna stop because this is basically what I'm going to face in the exam, and so I'm going to continue to do them, even though by second nature I almost knew all the questions even before I read them in their full entirety. So basically, that's what I did. And so the months went on: January, February, March, April, up until May. But in the meantime, things have become really, really unsustainable for me at home, uh, living with my mother, and I decided even before the exam that I would be leaving, and I'm going to live in someplace else, and I'm not going to stay anymore. And so I decided, uh, because I wanted to really force the issue. I wanted to move abroad and not going back ever to Portugal, at least for work or on a more permanent basis. I made the decision that all right, I'm going to move to Bulgaria, and basically because it's a country with a much less expensive cost of living, and I felt, all right, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to look for another job, and then basically that's what I did. I did the exam. I went to the test center. Everything was normal with all the masks and all the procedures that you have to go through. But the exam uh, was on, I believe, May 26th, 2021, I believe. And but basically, uh, I just was so determined to do this that I felt, all right, this is not going to stop me, and I'm just going to go through with this. And then I would do the exam, the level 3 exam, in Bulgaria or whatever other place I would ended up to by May 2022, which would be the window for the level 3 exam. And so that's what I basically decided to do. The exam, of course, went very very well, as you can imagine. You can say that for almost 2 years of studying, from August 2019 to May 2021, almost 2 years elapsed. The exam could only work out well, and but yeah, that's the story for another video, when I would talk about the level 3. But basically what I found is that It's not that much different in terms of the level 1, in terms of your preparation. But of course, you have the vignettes, and you have then the questions pertaining to the case, to each case. What I feel is that, and what I've learned about this is that it's very important for you to get the texture of the questions that you're going to have to answer. And so what I always recommend for you to do that is first, when you sit for the exam, please, first and foremost, read the questions. The first question, all right? Read the first question, and then go back to the case to the text in the case and look for the answer, all right? And for example, for the ethics questions, please make sure that as soon as you find the answer, where the place in the text where the answer is located to that question, please do not stop reading. And why is that? Because some details may be a little bit forward in the text that will be relevant for the question that you will be answering. So as you can imagine, the text has details. I'm just giving the example of ethics, but the text of the vignette has details scattered all across the text. And so even if you find the answer to the question, if you see the details that may come forward, that may lead you to a different answer, and that will be the correct answer, all right? So as soon as you find the answer to the question, if you stop there, that may lead you to the wrong answer. And so please do not do that. As soon as you read the text since the beginning, and then you drill it down, you continue to read, and then once you find the answer, do not stop. Continue a little bit more until because you may find some details that are related to the question that will lead you to a different answer. And so this is very important. I cannot overemphasize this because there is always a reasoning, and I'm sure that for level 2 candidates have already figured this out. There is always a good reasoning for the wrong answers, all right? The wrong answers are not just put there out of nowhere without any senseless meaning. They have a meaning, and if you see in the learning ecosystems, once you answer a question, you'll see that there is an explanation for the right answer, and there are explanations for the wrong answers for most questions. And if you review the answers, the wrong answers, and the explanation that is in the learning ecosystem, you will conclude that a less prepared candidate would fall for this. Because these are answers that would feasibly be used to answer the question for less prepared candidates. And so it's extremely important that you are aware of all the details that are in the text for you to answer those questions, all right? And so but this applies not only to ethics but only to other questions: financial reporting and analysis, corporate finance, equities, fixed income. You may have, for example, for equity questions, you may have most of the details you need to answer a particular question, but there is a particular detail later down in the text that will be relevant to answer the question, and it will lead you to a different answer than the answer that you would use once you see the information in the text, all right? And so it's very important that you consider all the information in the text. There is no two ways about it, because the answers, of course, you can. I would not go as far as say as there are decoys in the question in the questions or in the text, but the details to answer the questions are not within a specific paragraph. All right, they are scattered all across the text, and so you have to read the entire text and consider the entire text in order to answer the question. So, as I said, first read the questions, understand really really well to the best of your ability what is asked for, and then you go look for the answers in the in the text. And this may sound a little bit difficult to do in terms of, all right, does that mean that I will always have to read the entire text for each and every question? No, that's not true, because this comes with practice. You will, if you practice enough, you'll eventually get the instinct that, all right, I reach this point of the text. There's still a lot of text left, but I know that what I've read up until this point covers all the possible details that I would need to answer this question. And so I'm going to stop reading it, answer the question. All right? Because you, with experience and with practice, you will see, all right, there is not anymore, that it's not possible to have any more details that would lead me to answer this differently. So with experience, and of course this takes a lot of practice, you will get to a point in which, all right, I got all the information I need, let's answer the question. And this comes back to an idea that the person who at the beginning sort of inspired me to do the CFA program. One funny thing that he told me that I would never forget is that he told me, if you study the curriculum in its entirety, you know the full curriculum inside out, either because of your experience, work experience, or just because you studied like for a full year. You know every single word or page in the curriculum. You know everything basically. If you never practice the questions, you will fail. You will fail the exam, because the format of the exam, the way the questions are put forward to you to answer, in order for you to tackle them successfully, you will need to practice. And so there is no two ways about it. If you only study and review and everything and you don't practice, you don't get the feeling of the questions and the format and the way the questions are asked to you, and how can very specific tiny details can be concealed or at least less obvious. If you are not aware and prepared to understand that reasoning behind the text, you will not pass. And so this stuck with me, and I felt, all right, you have to review the curriculum, you have to know the curriculum, but the golden detail in here in your preparation is you have to practice. You really have to practice. Just like everything else, you cannot learn to ride a bicycle just by reading an instructions manual on how, or an internet article how to ride a bike. No, you have to sit on a bike and try to stand upright and try to maintain balance in order to learn how to ride. And so there is no other way to do this. You simply have to practice. And in my case, for level 2, yeah, basically almost 2 years of preparation, yeah, it was pretty much smooth sailing all the way through. Um, but then would be a story for the outcome of the level 2, and how did I prepare for level 3. That would come at another time. And then I think the video is already long enough, and so feel free to drop any questions if you need. Of course, I would be able and happy to help you. And please give a thumbs up to the video. You don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day.